Welcome to Dentology, the Business of Dentistry podcast. In this podcast, we delve into the non-clinical aspects of dentistry with inspirational guests from across the profession. You will hear incredible life stories, pick up valuable business tips and be entertained. I'm Andy Acton and I'm joined by my co-host, Chris Drevens. 36,500 delegates have run through Ashely Latter's hands and his course. Quite remarkable.
16 different countries and a commonality in that people don't know how to convert a treatment plan.
No. And it's funny, isn't it? We think back to, the Frank Taylor days of craniofiscal drag. And Ashly's saying that discussing fees and selling dentistry ethically is as prevalent as an issue today as it was 20, 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah, more financially motivated dentists, which I would say we definitely see in comparison to years, but they still aren't very good at turning that financial motivation into conversion. And they need his assistant. It's fascinating.
Yeah. I thought the start of the conversation around leadership and culture is important as well, because if you get it right at the top end, then you have a chance that things start to flow. But if it's not right at that end, you really are going to be pushing water uphill. Really interesting episode. Yeah, really interesting.
Useful.
So yet another one. Here we go.
There we do, a Dentology podcast.
And this week we've got an absolute legend of the profession.
A legend.
Absolute legend of the profession. Today we have Ashely Latter joining us. And Ashly is very well known, but just for those that don't know Ashly, Ashly is a business trainer. His ethical sales and communication program has had 36,500 delegates already.
That's not
quite
bad,
remarkable.
Is it, really?
And he's an author of multiple books for dentists and their team. Hello, Ashly. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, we're very good.
You're doing very well, thank you.
Yes. So, we need to go back 25 years to when two dentists took part in your 2-day ethical sales and communication program. But can we just go back a little bit further, even before when you started in dentistry? What's your own background? What was your childhood? Where were you brought up?
So, I brought up in North Manchester, where I've lived here all my life. First went to school, managed to scrape 3 O levels. If you remember what those are. Went to Berry College.
We all do. We all remember O levels. Yeah. We're of that age.
For those listening, that's GCSEs.
Yeah, GCSEs. Yeah. Went to Berry College and did a course on business studies. So I really liked the business side. And my first job was working for, I don't know if they still go nowadays, but do you remember some insurance brokers called Swinton Insurance Brokers?
Oh, yeah, I do.
In Salford. So I used to walk 4 miles to walk back, 4 miles there, 4 miles back to save on the bus fare. So that's my first selling job, selling car insurance and house insurance, that type of thing. And then I worked for a finance company for 7 years. And after that, I joined the very world famous Dale Carnegie training organization.
Yeah.
So this was 32 years ago, 1992 or 93, I think I joined Carnegie. And predominantly was, I did a Dale Carnegie course, loved it, came back, helped out as a leader, as a made the teas, did everything I needed to do. And I eventually joined the Carnegie organization here in Manchester, selling the training courses. So I used to do that. And my area at the time was Trafford Park and Salford Quays. That was my area. And I did that for 9 years, and I delivered training courses for Carnegie. So I delivered the sales training course, the leadership course, the confidence course, different programs, and that was it. So that's my background, really.
Wow. Yeah. And as a guy from Manchester, I know you're a Red, so you support Manchester United, as I do. Chris supports Arsenal, and we were talking before we started recording about our various seasons and how they go. But to bring it back to football and what you were just talking about with Dale Carnegie, there's obviously leadership problems in the football club at the moment. I'm always fascinated between business and sport from that point of view. How do you see that in terms of how leadership in a business translates to the front line? And in football, that's kind of on the pitch. But if the leadership isn't right, I guess in a dental practice context, it just falls apart. that there's no chance of it working well. Is that your experience?
Yeah, I mean, it's really been interesting. And obviously, my team ain't doing that great at the moment. Well, they haven't done well for 10 years or so. But if you look back, you know, and I've been listening a lot to what Gary Neville has been saying on his podcast, and I think a lot of what he says is true, really. You know, the leadership at the very. I mean, if you look back at the Ferguson years, you know, he was a brilliant leader. You know, if you speak to the players, they all, you know, they all admired Ferguson. You know, they had a lot of time for him. They you know, he was an inspirational leader. The small things that he did, you know, remembering birthdays, remembering people's names, and all these small things that he did. But at the time, if you look at Ferguson, he'll always say that David Gill, who was the chairman of United or the chief executive of United, was also a big factor in that and the working partnership they have. And if you look at the club to now, there's no leadership anywhere, really. That the leadership is there's non-existent at the top. You've got two guys in the States who just treat it as it's just a toy for them, isn't it? It's just a money pit for them, and they've got no love or care for the team or club. You know, the whole. If you visit Old Trafford nowadays, it is falling down. It's so far behind most other clubs nowadays, and then there's very little leadership actually in the club. Although hopefully this Jim Radcliffe is supposed to be taking some part ownership and making some. You know, hopefully he'll be someone in charge of the club. But I feel sorry for Ten Hag, really. He's trying to put discipline or trying to lead the team, and I think he's finding it hard to change a culture that's been there nearly 10, 12 years. So yeah, it is hard, and you know, leadership is so important. It's such an important skill to have, and you know, and it, you know, if you think about it, you know, I always say to, you know, clients, you know, think about your team. It's Sunday night, 8:00. Are they excited about coming to work on Monday, or are they dreading it? And a lot of it is down to, you know, your leadership.
The environment.
It's the same with the dentist it's the same with the dentist and the surgery. You know, they've got one person they're close to. It's the nurse. They've got a 7-8 hour relationship. Are they excited about coming to work on Sunday night, or are they dreading it? You know, so yeah, it's absolutely paramount, isn't it?
That culture thing is so important, isn't it? You know, as you said, whether it's a footballing culture or a dental practice culture or any business culture, but it's really hard to change.
Absolutely. And through your program, Ashely, you've kind of influenced 36,500 people. That is nuts, across 16 different countries. That is really going some. But where did that start from? Why did dentistry become your niche? You obviously did the Dale Carnegie work, but how did you end up kind of starting working with the profession?
It's a great story, and I'll try and cut it short. But two dentists took a sales training course with me, and I was like, why are you taking a course with me? And these are dentists that clinically could do all the dentistry. They were excellent dentists. But what they couldn't do was get patients on board with their ideas.
Pretty visionary, really, for them to attend, wasn't it?
They were taught very technical. They would give patients large treatment plans and say, go home and think about it. They weren't as good at discussing fees. So when they came on this course, I was like, as they left, I was like intrigued. You know, did this helped? You know, tell me more. What have you got from the program? And both of them seemed really excited. And I just said, do you mind if I give you a call in a few weeks just to see how things went? And both of them said yes. And I rang them both up. And believe me, I was and ahhing whether to make those phone calls because, you know, I was thinking maybe they didn't enjoy it. You know, you have two sides, don't you? One says, oh, I can't wait to speak to them. I bet they've got loads from it. But the other side of my brain was saying, I bet they didn't get anything and it was a waste of time. And now that's why I was and ahhing whether to give them a call or not. But I picked the phone up and they just told me that their treatment plan acceptance, more patients were saying yes, the books were full, they weren't discounting anymore. But what they both said was, you know, in an ethical manner, more patients are saying yes. We're delivering the dentistry we've always wanted to do. We love doing it, and our clients are so happy having it. So, and it was really from two dentists and keeping in touch and following up with them. And I eventually, you know, they told their mates, and I did a course just for dentists. And I followed those dentists up as well. And that's how really the journey started. So what I saw was a real, I always say it's a course that every dentist should take. They don't know they need to take it until they're actually on the course, if that makes sense.
So was that late 90s then,
it.
Ashely? Was that in the late 90s, did you say?
This was, I reckon it was about 25 years ago when Neil and Barry did the courses with me now. So, and it was really from those two, and a year later realizing that maybe I was onto something here, and everywhere I could speak or got an opportunity, then I would speak and grow a database. I started writing this little newsletter every week, giving tips and stuff, and it's just grown and grown and grown and grown. Trust me, it's been 25 years of hard graft, and I still graft. It's still today. I still work hard today as I did all those years ago.
You mentioned about discussing fees, and the founder of Frank Taylor Associates, Frank Taylor, he often referred to something called craniofiscal drag, where dentists thought about a certain price, but what they said didn't match that. And you covered that off kind of in a roundabout way in your book, You Are Worth It, How to Discuss Fees with Self-Confidence. Is that kind of a common trait with dentists? Is that something that lots of dentists suffer with, discussing fees? Do they feel uncomfortable with that as a topic?
Yeah, it is. I think virtually every dentist I've ever spoken to, or most dentists I've spoken to, have said that this has been a challenge for them one way or another. And if you think about it, they don't get training at it in university because money's a dirty word. They don't get any training in it. And so they have, and there's various reasons for this, why they tend to, if the fee is 600, by the time it comes out the mouth, it's 450 or 500. They reduce the fees in the head. There's various reasons why they do this, but the single major reason is, well, two major reasons. The single one is that if they lower the fee, they will hopefully get more yeses. So that's the one reason. And the second thing is, believe it or not, they are frightened of the comments that they might get from the general public. So maybe someone said to them, 2 years ago, am I paying for your holiday because that's really expensive? Well, they still remember that, and it plays on their mind. Or they read the newspaper and there's a paragraph there about dentists leaving the NHS and going private, or dentists,
or the Daily Mail.
The Daily Mail. Yeah, but it's going to happen once a year. They're going to be on the front page of the newspaper. So they think of these. They remember this one patient, and it impacts their conversations with every other patient that they have. They have discussions with. And what I always say to them is it's less than 0.001% of patients who give you this sarcastic comment. And you've got to, but if you listen to that patient, that's who you're taking your business advice from. And they're not qualified. So don't listen to them. Think about the 99.9% people who pay your fees, who are delighted with your services, and remember those people.
Interesting. One of the things to ask you, we've been doing this a long time as well. And have you noticed, because we've noticed a change in the dentists from when you started to where they are now? I know you were saying that they still have the sort of like the doubts about asking the question, but have you noticed any other changes, or are they sort of the same as they were in 97 that they are in 23?
I think, I think there's, definitely some changes. I think dentists today want to do more private work than as opposed to being part of the NHS. I think the private dentistry has grown significantly now compared to when I was delivering the courses 25 years ago. I think it'd be maybe fair to say that quite a lot of dentists nowadays are probably a little bit more business orientated than possibly they were years ago. They see the importance of that. So I think that is a factor as well. But on the whole, I mean, I work and train with dentists all over the world. I'm about to go to deliver a course in Mississippi in April. I've already spoke to the doctors, dentists who are on that course, and they have exactly the same issues as the UK dentists. I'm going in March to deliver courses in Australia and New Zealand, and they have exactly the same issues as UK dentists. They are technically brilliant, but can't get patients over the line, and discussing fees again is a big challenge for them.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you sort of think the younger dentists are more financially motivated, I think would be the way that I see it, but still lack that ability to convert that desire to be financially motivated into actually a conversion of a treatment plan.
Yeah.
Is it also to do with their comfort with selling dentistry ethically? Does the discussing fees almost fall as chapter 2, and chapter 1 is being comfortable that they are selling dentistry ethically? Does they need to be reminded that what they're doing is a good thing and there's a cost associated with that?
Well, yeah, I mean, what I always say to dentists is, let's just say talk about certain treatments. Let's just take implants as an example, because I'm going down this afternoon to lecture to some dentists who have just finished an implant course. But let's just take implants as an example. And if you actually, speak to dentists and their teams, they'll say, well, £2,500 is a lot of money. And I always say, well, yeah, it's a lot of money if you haven't got the problem. If you had the problem, you'd probably find the money. But what I always say to dentists is, bring
That's
your
a good one. I
patient
like that.
back 3 months after treatment. Bring them back, sit them in a room, you and your nurse and your receptionist, they need to hear this as well. And ask your patient, what's been the single major benefits? What's been the top 2 or 3 benefits you've gained since having this treatment? And what impact and difference has it made in your life? And the patients will tell you, they'll give you stories, they'll give you examples, they'll tell you what difference it's made, and everything else. And if you ask them, was it a good investment of both time and money? They'll always say, yes, it was, and I wish I'd done it sooner. So they are the judges. That's who you should be listening to. They are the patients that have, and what I say to dentists is that you actually change patients' lives. Your treatment does that. And your patients won't complain about the fees if you spoke to them a few months after after they've had the treatment. So it's a well worth exercise, and they should do it, and also capture it on video as well, and use it to promote. Use it for your marketing to promote future clients. Patients, they're the ones that you need to listen to. The impact you have, and you'll find that they're delighted that you make a difference. And £2,500 wasn't a lot of money.
Yeah, you were saying
true.
you were saying you kind of coach globally, and you said that their issues are the same the world over. You said America and Australia and New Zealand. But are there differences? Are there things that the UK can learn that you've seen that other countries do better than dentists in the UK do that we could pick up some tips from?
I actually think that in terms of commercially and business, I actually think that we're actually really good at it, to be honest.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
Yeah, I really do. It's you'd be surprised. I go to America, and their biggest issue, they want the biggest area where they want help with, believe it or not, is selling their treatments against the insurance. So the insurance wants to pay X for crowns, they want to charge Y. So and that's the big impact that they want me to help them with on lots of occasions. But I actually work with some clients here. I can think of some at the top of my head and that coming straight into my head now, who are dynamic business people, commercially brilliant at what they do. They're very, very forward thinking. They don't stop. You can ring them up at 8 o'clock at night, and they're putting a presentation together for a referral evening they've got coming up. They're making changes on their website. They're doing things. So, in a lot of ways, I think when I go abroad, I share a lot of examples of what people do here. And in a lot of occasions, they're learning a lot from what we do. So I actually
That's nice to hear.
It is, because you always sort of feel sometimes, don't you, that we're behind America.
Yeah.
America is like the pinnacle of dentistry, not just treatments, but almost commercialization.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like we are.
Yeah. Ashely, you talked a lot about dentists, but the last book that you wrote, The Practice Manager Juggler, is all the various things that a practice manager has to do in a practice. Lots of smaller practices still don't have a practice manager. What's been your experience of the changing role of the practice manager over your time in dentistry?
Well, I just think they're essential, really. There's so much bureaucracy a practice has to do now, and there's so much, leading a team and everything else. And I think it's very hard for an owner to not only just do the dentistry themselves, but actually run the practice and do all the other jobs as well. And I think it's, if you think about if a dentist is spending the time doing tasks that a practice manager could be doing, it's like, well, why would you do that? Why would you be, it's a £20 an hour, no disrespect, but you could earn several £100 per hour selling, marketing, and doing treatments. If you're brilliant at converting patients when they come to consultations, then you could be earning thousands of pounds per hour in your, why would you spend time doing jobs that other probably don't like doing anyway, but a practice manager could do even better than you. So
I'm saying you're probably not as good at it.
No. Is that around the art of delegation?
Yeah. I mean, there's I always think that there's some things I mean, paperwork and anything that's administration, I just can't stand doing it. The thought of having to, do it when I come in, but other people love doing that, Look, for what do they say? Other people's, I can't think of the expression now, but there's not a cat's in hell chance I would do VAT returns or anything else like that. I put all my receipts in a box and hand it to my accountant, and they're happy as that. They love it because they can.
That's their world.
Sort it all out.
World.
But why? My best use of my time is preparing a presentation and delivering it, doing things like this. So I think if you've got a team of people, then I think having somebody that can lead that, and do the tasks, I think it's absolutely crucial, really important.
We say it to quite a lot of people, don't we? You need to do it, and they always moan about the cost of it, and it's like, well, no, hang on a minute, because you're diluting for a start what you probably could deliver, and the cost you'll recoup in you not having to do it is. It's a no-brainer, really, but it's trying to get them to see that point. Really.
You have a really good finger on the pulse of dentistry, Ashely. From a dental perspective, what are you worried about at the moment?
What am I worried about? I think there's going to be. I think they. As much as you try not to think about it, I think there's a couple of things that are important. I think. What's going on in the world at the moment isn't great, so it's just trying to keep a positive attitude and maintain that positivity with all the news. I mean, as much as I try and not watch the news, you can't help but watch it. You want to see what's going on in the world, and it doesn't seem great. So I think that's a factor. And I think the second thing that's really, I think dentists have had it pretty good for the last 2 or 3 years since COVID. I think they've had. They've not had to try too hard, but I am speaking to a few implant companies now. I am speaking to some brace companies, and the figures are down. They are going in a different direction to what they were a couple of years ago, or maybe a year ago.
Private bounce,
There's a bounce, and I think there's definitely a cost of, you might, it's there. So I think you've got to try and work harder. I think patients. My daughter works in a big Invisalign practice in Manchester, and when a patient comes in for consultation, they go into 2 other practices at the same time. So I think people are, will continue spending money, but I think I think we have to all work a little bit harder to grab the pie. And I think dentists need to be a lot more proactive nowadays. They're going to have to be. It's not going to be as easy. That's my thoughts on it. That's what I'm thinking, and that's what I'm speaking to other practice some of the companies about.
I think that's great insights to people, because it's something that you can do something about within your business, and there's also time to react as well. You can actually do something about that. Away from dentistry, you've cycled from Land's End to John O'Groats in your time, and for those that don't know, Land's End is a sort of southern western tip of England, and John O'Groats is the northeastern tip of Scotland. It's as far as you can travel across the mainland. Why did you do that? What was that about?
Do you know, about 4.5 years ago, I took up cycling 5 years ago, and I got a massive bug with it. I loved it, just fell in love with it straight away. And I came back from Mallorca, and I was at the dental show, and I just spoke to Chris and Barrow and a couple of the other guys. I said, I'd love to cycle the length of the UK. And by the end of the dental show, we had there's five of us, and we were all committed. And then I think we did it, I think we agreed it in, was it April or May or something? We did the whole thing in September. So it was just, let's do it. Why not? And we can raise a load of money for charity. Wow. But it was one of the best. It was just incredible 2 weeks. It really was phenomenal. I look back with such happy memories of those 2 weeks.
I was going to ask how long it took. 2 weeks, Flip.
Yeah. I think it was 13 days in total.
Wow.
But yeah, it was amazing. Really
which was the hardest day?
The hardest day was the first day.
Right. Is that when you weren't tenderized yet?
No, I it was really strange because I think everyone had moments when everyone had a bad day. I just didn't realise mine was day one. That was all.
You thought it was downhill from there.
I remember going to the hotel and having a beer at night time, thinking, "Oh my God, if that's what it's going to be like." I mean, it was really, really hilly and day one, and I think it was 77 miles the first day, and I thought, "Oh my God, I've not done enough training." But what was interesting, the more as the days went on, it actually got easier because you got fitter. I know it sounds really strange that. We had another tough day in Scotland. The weather was really bad. It was for 8 hours. It rained and never stopped. And that was a tough day as well. It really got in your bones. So it
must chill you down, I imagine.
Day 10 or something like that were tough, but the rest of it was very, very enjoyable.
But really I imagine as well, if there was a team of 5 of you riding, you wouldn't have all had a bad day on the same day.
Hopefully
so
not.
You kind of get dragged. Yes. Yeah, that's a nightmare if you did.
That way we're not getting out and we're in the pub all day. Yeah.
At least you get dragged along by other people. And there's kind of a throwback into businesses like that as well, isn't there? You're not always going to have your team members all firing on all cylinders every day. But if you can pull the others along when they need it, that's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Actually, we never let our guests go without asking two questions at the end. So the first question we have for you is, if you could be the fly on a wall in a situation, when would that be and who'd be there?
Interesting when you asked this, and I've been driving around thinking about this quite a bit. I think I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall when Alex Ferguson gave his team talk in the 1999 Champions League final against Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
I think that was, or maybe the celebrations after in the changing room when he gave that speech. I think either before or after. But I would love to have seen one of Fergie's speeches, and I think that was the ultimate best day ever watching United.
For those that don't know, Manchester United were losing at half-time and then went on to win 2-1 with two very late goals.
Can I say, even as a Gooner, I enjoyed that match.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
full time. We scored 2 in the last 3 minutes.
Yes, yeah,
it was amazing.
And I still watch that, and I still cry today. So I cried when I was in the stadium, and I'm 59-year-old guy still crying at that video. It was fantastic.
Brilliant. And the follow-up is, if you could meet somebody, sit down with them and have a beer or a coffee, who would you like to meet?
Do you know? Again, it's easy to say Fergie, but my other hero. And you're going to laugh at this, but in 1982 was the first time I saw New Order at the old, very hacienda nightclub, and since then I've followed this group all over the UK, and I've even seen them abroad in Australia and places like that. So I would love to meet and sit down with Bernard Sumner from New Order and have a coffee and a few beers with him.
flip.
Well, I think you win the award for we've never had
We've never had.
we've never had the new order come up. We've
They
had
did some great videos, didn't they? In the heyday.
really creative.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
cool.
Really,
Very cool.
really creative. Really creative.
I've seen them 35 times in concert now, so I would
Wow.
love to sit down with Bernard. Yeah, definitely have we'd have a good night anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
I bet you would.
Definitely.
Ashley, we'll let you go. We know that you've got a very busy day ahead. We appreciate the time that you've made
thank
for
you.
us. It's been a whistle-stop tour, but it's been brilliant. Thank you for
No, you're welcome.
all
Thank
you've
you
shared
for
with us.
having
I'm
me.
sure people will take a lot from it. Either they'll pick out a couple of little nuggets of how they can adjust what they do. And it may well be that some people will seek you out if they haven't already and get you to help them.
Thanks a lot for having me. Thank
Lovely.
you, guys.
Appreciate your
Cheers,
time,
Ashley.
Ashley. Look
Thanks,
after
guys.
yourself. Cheers. Dada. Thank you for listening to this episode of Dentology, where we discuss the business of dentistry. If you like what you heard, please do subscribe where you found this episode. That would be amazing. And also follow us on Instagram.